Epilogue. "I don't take pleasure in this," Malik told the statue. It didn't reply. Seyfried's fossilized body was locked in a state of terror, mouth agape, eyes stretched wide, fingernails clawing at his skin. It stood upright in a transparent cell like a piece of modern art on display in a macabre museum exhibit. The lads from Deadly Spells and Enchantments said he was one counterspell away from being reverted to human form, at which point he'd be shackled, boxed, and shipped off to an off-site detention center, a remote Caribbean island where interrogation laws were much more relaxed. He was probably better off as a statue. Malik pressed his palms into the glass, leaning close enough for his breath to fog the surface. It might have just been his imagination, but Seyfried's ossified eyes seemed to stare back at him. This wasn't the first time an agent had lost himself in magic, and it certainly wouldn't be the last. Tinkering with darker spells tended to have a dulling effect. You could vaguely recall what things like remorse and compassion felt like, but they faded over time. Hazy memories that seemed to recede into the distance with each passing use. Magic practitioners had worked hard to maintain their sense of self. It took time and mental discipline, and even the strong-willed would fall off the wagon now and then. Malik had fallen victim to it himself. He teetered on the precipice, constantly at odds with his own dilemmas. How far would he go to reclaim his old life? Was there a point where he'd have to become someone else altogether in order to regain what he'd lost? And even if he succeeded, would it all be worth it? He'd learned to compartmentalize his actions and lock empathy in a tightly sealed box. Killing, for example, was never fun. It was necessary at times, but Malik never took pleasure in it. It just didn't sting like it should have. Not being home where he belonged, that stung. It was an ache that pulsed, chronic and hot. When he let himself think about everyone he had left behind, the people he couldn't return to until he'd shut down Father Division for good, it felt like a boot had stomped down on his soul and callously twisted its heel. It was a different perspective from his side of the glass. No matter how much magic had changed Agent Seyfried, he wasn't a monster any more than Kobe Finn had been. He was a man who'd been gifted an endless run of royal flushes and finally got dealt a losing hand. He couldn't cope, and he snapped. Not that he was willing to forgive John. You don't ever really forgive someone after they plunge a knife into your eye, whether it grows back or not. But he didn't relish this as a victory either. Seyfried only wanted to make things right, and he was willing to flip the world upside down and turn it inside out to make it happen. Roles reversed, Malik would have done the same. A laugh escaped him against his will. He always tried to maintain his own moral compass amidst the seductive pull of dark magics, but maybe he was going too far in the opposite direction. Was he actually becoming, God forbid, nice? "If you can hear me," Malik said. "I smashed Medusa's tablet, broke it into a dozen pieces, and used hellfire on the remains. I thought it might reverse the process, but your hex held strong. Hopefully, the lads get you out in time to say your goodbyes. Despite everything, you deserve that." He gave the containment unit a pat, like it was a shoulder of an old friend in need of comfort. "She deserves it too." Malik made his way to the elevator and was about to scan the security pad with a card dangling from the end of his lanyard. He looked down at the small plastic rectangle that read, "Q clearance." He was a director now, at the top of the proverbial mountain. Or, as Seyfried might have phrased it, a cleanup hitter. You won't gain respect from the opposing team if you don't flex once in a while, and Malik had no delusions about his current position. At the top of Father Division, he'd need to command as much respect as possible. He sauntered back to the containment cell and pulled a stack of baseball cards from his inside pocket. It was Seyfried's collection. He shuffled through the deck, selected a black and white portrait, and flattened it against the glass, roughly in Seyfried's eyeline. "You told me Gabby Hartnett was one of the best at throwing people out," Malik said. "He excelled at catching runners who tried to steal a base. But I learned a fun fact about Gabby. He was the one kneeling behind the plate when Babe Ruth pointed to the stands, called his shot, and hit the most famous home run of all time. He might have been going crazy, but he could swear that a glisten flashed across Seifert's cold marble eyes, a hint of recognition. Malik released the stack of cards as they fluttered to his feet. He trampled a few of them on the way back to the elevator. "Enjoy the Caribbean, John." How did Babe Ruth know he was going to hit a home run that day? Was it an overabundance of hubris? A healthy dose of self-confidence? Perhaps the pitcher was thrown off by one of the all-time greats making such a bold prediction, declaring his intention to slam the ball deep into the stands. Or maybe it was a bad call. Gabby signaled for his pitcher to throw a fastball when he should have asked for a slider. Maybe Babe was just that good. Or maybe Gabby's luck had simply run out.